University of Rochester looking a bit warmer this time of year. Yes, actually warmer despite what we see outside.
And that's because the student club Socks is clothing the campus. Yes, the campus, like the actual grounds and benches in knitwear. Hannah is live at the U of R to see what the buzz is all about.
I know, guys, it sounds strange when you first hear it, but the Socks Club, which stands for the Society of Crocheting and Knitting Students, has come together to do something they call yarn bombing. Bonnie Nortz is the founder of the club. She's a senior. Okay, you're a mathematics and linguistics major with a computer science minor. No big deal. What? No big deal. So I guess you didn't want to be a knitting major.
No.
No knitting major, but how did you get this club started and why?
Right, so I came to college already knowing how to knit and crochet. Well, to knit, actually. I learned how to crochet in the process. But I love to knit in class because it actually keeps me more focused on what the professor is saying. And so I would knit in public or I'd wear something I knitted, and so many students would come up to me and say, oh, I love to knit and crochet, or I don't know how to, but I'd love to learn, or like my grandmother knits or whatever. So many students had this interest, so I was like, why isn't this an organization? Why don't we have a time like where people can come and knit and crochet together?
Totally, and what you said there, we've got to pause. You said people say, oh, my grandma knits. And no offense, but a lot of people think of that when they think of knitting. They think
Definitely.
of, you know, women who maybe are retired or, you know, are just hanging out at home knitting. Do you think that's a common stereotype?
Oh, yeah, definitely. What people don't really realize is knitting is such a vibrant and sort of youthful craft. There are so many really awesome things you can make. Apart from tree sweaters, which I love to make, my favorite thing is stuffed animals. Because people just don't expect knitted and crocheted stuffed animals, but they're so easy, they're so fun to make, and they're just adorable.
And what do you think it's been like? I mean, explain the yarn bombing aspect, because you've been doing it for about 3 years when you guys sort of have your big alumni weekend. Explain why you got into making tree sweaters.
Right, so I'd heard about yarn bombing in the past, and it just seemed like a really fun thing to do. So I figured Mel Weekend was the perfect time to start because it's a great way to show off our sort of unique school spirit. Because U of R is sort of a quirky school, and this is like a really quirky, cool thing to do.
Yeah, totally. Let's take a walk down here and we can sort of take a look at some of these. What was your inspiration in this one's light blue, white, dark blue? Who made it and why?
So this was actually made by a number of different club members. Each of the sections was assigned to a different person. And then we sewed it all together and put it up. So this one we actually made for a spring event, Spirit Week. And so it was snowing out, and so we were like, we have so many yellow and blue things, why don't we make like a snow-colored thing?
Yeah, totally. The yellow, and we forgot to mention that you actually made this yellow one, and it says create. You guys have several ones with words on them. I think there's learn, create, and there's another one, discover. What are the words for, and where's that inspiration?
Right, so our school's motto is learn, create, learn, discover, heal, create, and make the world ever better. So we did our first Mel Weekend yarn bombing of just yellow and blue, and we also had the blue and green dandelion tree sweaters. So for our next one, we decided to mix up the colors. So we did this motto, and every Mel Weekend, they put up banners and rush wreaths that have these colors. So we're like, not just yellow and blue, more colors.
So you guys are like fashion designers, basically, for the statues and the trees out here on campus. Well, later on, she's actually going to show me the yarn and the needles, and maybe I'll try some knitting myself. I don't know. I don't think I can knit your Halloween costumes, guys. And Adam, you're way too tall, way too much length of material. I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, but I'm like
maybe Bonnie will. Maybe Bonnie will.
I'm like a tall sapling, though. There's not much to go around, I promise.
Take that one off the tree behind them.
He's just like this light pole right here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There'll be a lot of yarn going up, but just not a lot going around. That's
actually what I see when I look at you. That pole right there.
I'll toss it back to you guys.
It's freakishly tall.
It's all right. What can you do?
We're going to check the latest on your weather, traffic, and local headlines coming up next, including how
I could think of the most random thing, this would be it. Knitting sweaters for trees and lampposts and things like that. And that's exactly what's happening over at U of R.
Yeah, I'd say it's random. It's totally random, Adam, but it starts from the Socks Club, which is also kind of random. It started 3 years ago. It's called the Society of Crocheting and Knitting Students. Bonnie Nortz is a senior now at U of R. You started it 3 years ago. You started it basically to stop the stereotype of the people who normally knit.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. Yeah, some people just think knitting crocheting is something just grandmothers do, like when they're completely bored to death, have nothing else to do with their time. But it's actually a really fun thing to do, and people usually don't realize how vibrant the craft can be.
And now you guys are sort of outfitting Dandelion Square. Let's take a walk around this bench. You got a really cool one right here. You say all of them kind of have a meaning, and different people in your club make these. So what about this one?
Yeah, so this one was also done by a number of different members, and it was also for the Spirit Week event 2 springs ago. So the theme of that event was I love you are, I heart you are. So we made this lovely lamppost sweater to match.
It is lovely. It's very lovely. I feel like I actually match it. I'm kind of like in the U of R spirit right now. This one's one of my favorite. I saw it when I first walked in when it was dark out. This really is, it's kind of a symbol of Dandelion Square.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things Rochester has for the school for some reason is dandelions. So again, to get away from like just the Genesee blue, dandelion yellow sort of theme, we made this multicolored dandelion extravaganza, I'm going to call it.
Yeah, no, for you, you said crocheting and knitting is kind of a hobby for you. Why do you think it's important for people to, you know, express their hobbies? Because you were telling me you had to go in front of a board, in front of people at U of R and really convince them that you needed this club.
Yeah, so knitting crocheting is just a great way to relax. And I think it's also a really awesome thing for people to create things with their own hands. That's what I love about it. I just love making things and then being able to say, I made this thing. This thing did not exist before I put effort into it.
And you have a couple other things you knit, not only sweaters for trees. You said you've actually made sweaters of your own. That's how you kind of got started. Freshman year, you made some of your own clothes.
Yeah, I made a couple sweaters. One of them was for me, one for my mom. Neither of them really fit their intended recipient. But that's okay.
Hey, you know, just don't wash them. Just, you know, maybe put them on a teddy bear or something like that. We're going to sit down now for a little. You're going to show me some of your yarn, I guess, how you would get started. And then in our next segment, you're actually going to show me maybe how to do it. But this is the material you would use. And you said for outdoor trees like this, obviously it's withstood the rain and the cold. What type of material do you use?
Yeah, so we use a lot of acrylic yarn, which is a synthetic fiber. We use that for pretty much everything because it's really great, it's really sturdy, and it's also very cheap. So we use it for stuff like this, for fundraisers, and for charity projects, because that also allows us to circumvent the issue of possibly wool allergies or anything like that. So we don't have to worry about that with acrylic yarn.
Yeah, and speaking of charity events and fundraisers, you actually have something coming up, right?
Yeah, we have our fundraiser this week for Halloween, and it's today through Sunday, and we're tabling in Wilson Commons from 10 to 10 every day.
Fantastic. So we've got the needles, we've got the yarn. Yep. So coming up next, she's going to show me how to do this. I don't know, fingers crossed. I don't want to mess anything up.
Hannah, things I want to mention, I got a message over Facebook from Sharon who says, did you know that the Rochester Knitters Guild has more than 300 members and they are very active for charity?
I love it. Yeah, I've seen those types of groups do stuff like that. Good for them.
Oftentimes see, you know, people knit hats oftentimes for the little babies at Golisano Children's Hospital too. So this stuff just warms your heart.
Have you ever tried it? Have you ever?
No, I don't know if I have the, I have very little patience. And very little skill.
I remember doing the, remember boondoggle though, like in camp and stuff, wasn't it called?
The beads? Oh, no, that square thing?
Yeah, and then you'd create like the, hey, all right. Do we want to look at tomorrow here, or do we want to go?
We're going to get right to Hannah.
All right, let's do it. Hey, if you want to destroy my sweater, I'll just go right out to U of R and get a new one.
Song lyric there. A group of U of R students are trying to bring it to life with something called yarn bombing. Hannah, what is it?
Yeah, you told me knitting and crocheting is boring. Think again. Okay, so yarn bombing, the Socks Club's Society of Crocheting and Knitting Students created these sweaters for a lot of trees and statues on campus. Now, if you don't know the difference between crocheting and knitting, I just learned it. This right here, the green, is crocheting, And this, the blue, is knitting. So I thought, why not have a knitting versus crocheting battle, of course, on Good Day Rochester. So I have the lovely Kelsey is here. She's joined us. She's a crochet designer for the club. And, of course, the founder, Bonnie, you're knitting.
Yep.
So, Bonnie, you're trying to tell me the difference between it. Show me what you're doing. You're knitting right now.
Yeah, so basically the main difference between knitting and crocheting is the equipment you use. So knitting uses needles, and you also keep all of your stitches on the needle at once. Crochet, you just use a hook, and so you only have one stitch on the hook at one time.
Did you hear that? She said you just use a hook. She was talking down to you, Kelsey. How do you feel about that? I'm wreaking havoc. There's going to be no club left once I leave. What are you doing? You're crocheting. Explain the art here.
So I just, like Bonnie said, I use a hook. I just started making a square, and then the nice thing about crocheting is you can actually like go around on the square, whereas with knitting you have to go back and forth. So in my opinion, crocheting's better, but whatever. Like,
no, you said you started a lot, doing it a lot because of your mom, and you taught your mom how to do it. Tell me why.
So my mom had a few strokes a few years back, and so she couldn't, like, her manual dexterity, like, wasn't all that great, and then I taught her how to crochet, and she got a lot of her manual dexterity back, and she can do a lot of stuff, and now she's been making blankets, like, all the time. Like, that's all she does is make blankets. She's like, Kelsey, teach me a stitch, and I'll show her something, and then she's like, okay. And then she'll just go with it for days and days and days. It's ridiculous.
That's fantastic, but it really is. You say it's therapeutic, and it's a way to kind of be creative, and it's useful, too.
Yeah, no, I haven't actually bought a present for someone in a really long time, so, yeah. So that's pretty great.
So when you go to a Secret Santa party or White Elephant party, they know what Kelsey is going to put in there.
Yes.
They know. And thank you so much, Bonnie, by the way, for showing. And look at the cute bees she knitted, too. It's adorable. Tell me if someone wanted to join the club, where could they find information about you guys?
Yeah, so we have a Facebook page, U of R Socks. And basically we meet every Saturday from 1 to 3, and it's totally open. Like, you don't have to have any experience whatsoever to join. We love to teach people. And we also have different events, like our fundraiser this week. And we have movie nights every so often, and we're also going to have a Yarn Olympics this semester, which is going to be super fun. Yeah, so we're just going to have really silly competitions involving yarn, and it's going to be a really big event.
I'll be back. I'm coming to the Yarn Olympics. Even if I don't know, I'll come with like the balls of yarn and just throw them at people.
Yeah, one of these is going to be yarn bowling, so we're going to make bowling pins out of yarn and then like roll yarn balls out.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, I'll toss it back to you in the studio. We didn't unravel the entire show. Oh, that was cheesy. We didn't unravel the entire show yet, so I'll toss it back to you guys. Pretty cool, right?
It is, Hannah. That is really cool. I love how she's doing the interview while she's knitting. She's just knitting away. Meanwhile, if I were to try to be like, if you were to talk to me, I'd mess something up. So, hey, thanks so much, Hannah. Thank you, U of R. Great story.